Hi, and welcome back to That's So Nova. If it's your first time here, welcome. My name is Nova, and you're at my channel, and I like to make bags, do captain logs about sewing events, and just talk, period. I'm a little bit of a chatterbox. I'm okay with it. Today we're going to be doing a TobiStylx pattern called the Silvia Bag. The Silvia Bag is a very lush, beautiful bag that I feel like comes together really nicely, and you learn a lot of tips and tricks along the way. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So what we're going to do is you're going to cut out all the pattern pieces that are required, cut out all the stabilizers and whatnot. There's a lot of different stabilizers that you can use in this. I'm going to be using Decorative Heavy because I wanted something that was adhesive and I didn't have to wait for the glue. I will be using a lot of double-sided tape in this bag making process versus glue because I sew in the basement and there's no windows to help ventilate some of the glues that work really well. Like there's vinyl glues and things like that. If you're going to use glue, make sure that you're in a well ventilated area so you don't get lightheaded or have any effects. Okay, so let's get started. I'll put a link to the pattern down below. There's no affiliate links. That's just go ahead and support TobiStylx. All right, so what we're going to do is you're going to grab your pattern piece and your pattern piece H and the front, one of the front panels. Okay, so first things off bat, like I said, you're gonna pattern piece A. I'm sorry, I'm using Decorative Heavy on here. You can use different kinds of stabilizers, whatever suits your, fancy. Everyone has different preferences. For pattern piece H, I want you to definitely recognize the side, what sides are going to be placed on there. So I definitely recommend you to have this piece out because it is very easy to put it in a different configuration and it won't look right. So if you want to just, for references sakes, have the short blunt end that goes into a longer slant, they need to come into each other. I got some double-sided tape that's on the back of this, and I'm going to line these up with the bottom and the side and do the same thing. Lining these up. So when you're lining them up, you're trying to make sure that it's going down the right sideways and it's not longer or shorter than the bottom. So you're just lining up the sides, and then we're going to top stitch them down using 1/8 of an inch. It's really important for this pattern, because this is a drop-in lining, that you use the correct measurements and not fudge it, or it could be, when you're trying to put it together for the final, it could be a little too tight or a little too big or loose, and then you're going to be very frustrated and we don't want that. Let's trim those ends, those tails. Right when you get at the corner, just pivot. Okay, trim those tails. All right, and you're going to do that to the other side as well. So you'll have two, all done. Okay, then we're going to get our decorative line, which is going to be pattern piece G. And there's two of them. So we're going to put a strip of double-sided tape and we're going to fold the decorative strap in onto itself. Okay. And then on page 8, we're going to put these decorative straps on one of the pieces. This is going to be your front piece. So choose which panel you think looks the best. I'm using a plaid, so I feel like I can't go wrong with any one. But this center one is right in the middle, so I'm going to use that for the front. And you want to make sure you want to put some double-sided tape on the back of these. You can use glue again, but you just have to wait and make sure that it gets nice and tacky. We want to make sure this can go into 2 inches, and the bottom we're going to make. At the top, we wanted the edge to go into 2 inches, and the bottom we want it to go into 3. So I'm just getting that lined up because it's at an angle. So 2 inches at the top and 3 inches towards the bottom, and it will give it an angle. I'm going to line this up with the ruler and go from there. We'll do the same thing on this side with dropping everything. It's not a Shinova tutorial unless I drop something. So what I like to do is I like to put my ruler, my messy ruler. Let's see if I can find a little bit cleaner one. Here we go. So I would do 3 inches right here on the bottom, and then I will kind of shimmy this over to 2 inches on this side. And then I'm going to put the strap. Okay. As much as you're going to want to cut down those straps, don't do it. Okay. Please hear me out. Don't do that. Now let's top stitch. One-eighth of an inch. I'm just going to hop across because it doesn't need to be sewn all the way to the top, just to the top of the piece. That is right there. Okay, and then we're going to do it again. And I'm just going to hop over a few stitches and just go down 1/8 of an inch. As you can see, it's all nice and top stitch. Do not trim that. So we're going to put these to the side right now, and we're going to grab our handle piece. And we have our handle right here. We're going to sew it down at 3/8 of an inch. The 2 short ends that are raw together, we're going to sew that down at 3/8 of an inch. I'm going to show you some tricks that are not shown in here. So we're going to put some double-sided tape on the sides of this. Okay. And we're going to make sure that double-sided tape sticks. Double-sided tape, come on. We're going to press that down, finger press that down. And do the same here. Then we're going to fold this onto itself. So I'm just going to take my time and finger press along the way. me get these threads. And again, you can use glue. I would just put the glue, let it get a little, wait a couple minutes, let it get nice and tacky, then it'll be able to stick to itself really nice. Grab a piece of double-sided tape right here. And then I'm going to fold this onto itself. Okay. So what I'm going to do from here, just to get it nice and like super... I'm sorry, guys. That's just the way it rolls with me. I'm accident prone, but it's just part of my quirky charm. So I'm using a seam roller to help flatten it out and make it look like it's pressed. And this area right here, what I like to do is I like to get a needle nose plier and I will just gently press down the seam so that way it can flatten out a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I want to mark on this side where the, like you can go like this and get the, to get the perfect match. And we're going to grab some more double-sided tape. You're like, Shanova, so much tape. I know. And I'm just going to match that line that I had in the inside to this. And get it all lined up. Now you don't have to use double-sided tape. You could use clips, binder clips. It's whatever your machine has. Make sure you have a non-stick needle can help. We're going to top stitch this at 1/8 of an inch all the way around. And I'm going to back stitch 2 or 3 stitches. I'm using a 116 16 needle. And it's really important before you start this to make a kind of like a sandwich of like the products you're using to test on your machine and the tension to see if it's going to need, you're going to need a hump jumper, a quilting foot, or I mean a walking foot. So definitely test your fabrics ahead of time. I'm using marine vinyl, so it's quite thick. So I could have actually used a 118 needle. I'm going to back stitch. And trim. All right, so we have our first part of our handle. What we're going to want to do is we're going to want to fold this over onto itself at 1.5 inches. So I'm going to just draw that on the inside with chalk because I am a horrible eyeballer. You'll be like, oh, just eyeball it, and it's all messed up from there. So I'm going to grab 2 rectangle rings and I'm going to fold it right on that line and put a clip. And do the same thing. Fold it right on that line. And put a clip. Now we're going to want to make a small box. So I'm going to do that. You're going to want to do it away from the D-ring, a little ways away from the D-ring. It's going to be a lot of layers, but to be honest with you, this is the thickest part you're going to have to go through. So you're kind of going through like 8 layers of vinyl if you're doing it. That's why I'm saying know your vinyls, because there's a lot of different vinyls out there. There's mid-weight ones, there are thinner ones, there are marine vinyl. So figure out what vinyl you're working with, and there you can make a better discussion or decision on what you want to sew. Like cork would be fine with this, I feel. And just a little box. Like I'm doing, my box is about a little over a ½ inch. And it's just to hold this together. We're going to be putting some rivets in it relatively quickly. But we have this. Okay, so we're going to put this aside for now, and we're going to grab our pattern piece C, and you're going to need pattern piece D for our placement pieces. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to want to draw a line that is 5/8 of an inch. Let me see if I can find a pen real quick. Okay, so 5/8 of an inch. And we're going to do that on both pieces. Remember, one piece, I'm doing flap A. I'm sorry if I did not say that in the beginning. I'm doing flap A. I'm not doing the magnetic one. I'm doing the one without a magnet. Magnetic, just because it's nice to have patterns that don't require a lot of hardware, you know? And I'm going to put a strip of double-sided tape down onto that line we just drew. And do the same thing on this side. We're going to fold right onto that line that we just drew. Okay. Do that on this one piece too. Just to make it look like I pressed it, I'm going to roll it, and it really helps locking that glue to both layers and calling it there. So then we're going to put these two pieces right sides touching. And what I like to do is I like to put a clip on the top and one on the bottom. Sometimes I'm an over clipper, sometimes I'm not. It all depends on the mood I'm in, I guess. We're going to sew this around using 3/8 of an inch. Okay? Back stitch really well at the beginning and end. And when it's time to pivot, put your needle down and pivot. And if you mess up, it's okay. Okay, I'm going to remove these clips. And I'm going to go around just this section right here where I didn't do the best job of rounding the corners, so I can back stitching, so I can get a nicer, cleaner flap. Okay. And then what you want to do is, if you don't have peeking shears, you can do notches. I prefer peeking shears around rounded corners because what it does is it cuts the notches, and they're even notches, and it spreads out the bulk a lot easier. Let's see. Take your time. It's one side. And I'm going to be done with this side. And it's a matter of preference. If you can just notch like it shows in section D on page 11, and that will work out fine too. So I'm going to turn this right sides out. It'd be kind of hard if you're working with marine vinyl and Decorative, but you got this. I'm just going to start massaging the areas that need to be poked out, and I'm going to use a tool to help with poking out these corners too. A bone folder. You can get them pretty much anywhere. This one's from Tandy Leather, but you can get them from any craft supply store. They usually have them. Michael's, Joann's, Hobby Lobbies. All right, let's start working on this front piece. And just take your time with this. All right. Looks good. So sometimes what I do, I get this question a lot. I use my seam roller just to help relax these areas, make sure that everything's poked out nicely. Seam roller is supposed to act like an iron. It's not hot, but the friction of rolling back and forth compresses a little bit, and it helps tremendously in my opinion, but we shall see. So we're going to top stitch 1/8 of an inch all the way around, and then we're going to work on the opening. Okay, I like to back stitch 1 or 2 stitches. Take your time. Back stitch. Okay, So once you have that, it's flattened down enough. The reason why I don't do the mouth first, this little part first, is because I want everything to be stable. And once you top stitch everything is, we're going to stitch 1/8 of an inch around this opening part. And then we're going to cleanly cut out the second hole. Take your time because it's a little tight. So just take your time. Now remember, if you have to pivot, just go in the needle down position. Okay, so there's several ways you can do this. You can grab a pair of sharp scissors and you can just cut it out around. You can take, if you have a small rotary and you trust yourself, you can cut it out. If you have like a box cutter, you can cut it out. What I would recommend to do is cut out the straight lines first, because I always feel like straight lines always get noticed when they're not perfect, you know? And from there, you can slowly cut out the circle. Now, on here, she said that you can edge coat, which I cannot do. You could do, technically you kind of could do that at the last step. Like when you're, after you finish the bag. Because edge coating is a process, it takes me, I don't know about you, but it takes me many hours. You also can get fabric markers if you want, and then color them in if that's an option for you too. Do whatever makes it easier for you, but right now I'm going to leave this raw, and then I will come back and I will edge coat it, most likely when I'm finished with it. But even if you don't edge coat it, it's a very clean process. Especially if you use like a box cutter and you get everything nice and lined up. As you've seen, the first thing I did is I just lightly used my lighter to make sure that I singed any like fuzzy edges. So once we have this, you're going to want to grab that pattern piece D, and you're going to want to make the markings where on the pattern piece, for where the pattern piece is, line it up, because this is where our handle is going to go. And I'm just going to try to use this chalk pencil, and hopefully it lines up nice. Okay. Can I see it? Sorta. Kind of not. I'm going to hope for the best on that one. I'm just going to leave the piece right here if I need it. We're going to take this, take our piece, and we're going to put it on the sides where we lined up those pieces, and we're going to put some rivets in its place. So what I did is I punched my rivets first, into the strap, because you need to punch 2 holes. So I did one about a 1/2 inch down from the rectangle rings, and then inside the little square box that I made. And just punch it. It's a little easier to do it this way. Okay. And then what I'll do is I'll line it up with that mark that I made, and then take a pen and draw my template from okay. And then I'm going to punch a hole Okay. I'm going to grab my rivets. I'm going to be using some blue rivets because I thought, why not? I like color. So I'm going to grab 4 rivets, females and male parts. And make sure you have rivets that have long enough posts, but not too long where they can not set properly. Okay, and then I'm going to take these over to my rivet press real quick. Sorry, my rivet press can't fit on the table. See, where's my hole punch? Let's see. And, oh, where did it go? This takes a little bit of finagling because you're going through a lot of layers. So just take your time. So I know that could be, you know, sometimes frustrating. You're like, okay, come on. And it's not budging, but it's okay. Okay, and I have to put this 2 on and I'll be done. Okay, so we have our rivets on. Now we're going to grab our, there's a long piece and it's pattern piece E, and we are going to fold it onto itself. This, you want to take a little bit of time and a little bit of like finesse with it, because it is, you want it to be as neat as possible. You're going to be folding this onto your pattern piece E, onto your, over and onto your Decorative light. And then when we get around the corners, we're going to be putting some snips in, so that way it can all fit together. So you just put it as some snips in about 1/8 of an inch away from where you're going to fold so that you don't see them. And you're going to kind of mold this stuff, not this stuff, your vinyl or cork or whatever you're using around. See how I'm trying to make it smooth around the interfacing. It's going to be nice and smooth. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. Trying to get everything smoothed out as possible. And then just a couple snips. I like to start from the center and then just work around. One side at a time. And it gets quite easy. So just now fold this in half on itself. And then you can get the roller again if you wish and just kind of smooth out everything. Okay, and then we're going to top stitch this, not across the folded edge, but down, around, and up at 1/8 of an inch. If your needle gets sticky after all this double-sided tape, make sure you have some alcohol wipes on hand. They help tremendously. Making sure no pieces stick out. Okay, and make sure that everything's caught up. We're going to then take our front piece and we're going to center it. I'm just going to draw a quick line in chalk. And just center this. Okay, and we're going to sew a 1/8 of an inch box that's 3/8 tall, 3/8 of an inch tall on here. So I'm going to pretend like my dog's not barking. Back stitch. And just doing a little box. Okay, we did it. We have our tongue for our, that's going to help lock everything in. Done. And we're going to grab the piece that doesn't have the 2 accent pieces and we're going to measure 2 inches down. I'm going to get some chalk. And then I always like to find the center. So I'm just going to draw the center. We're going to get some double-sided tape and I'm going to just put a little on this section on the end so that way it can hold in place because we're going 2 inches down, so clips really won't be able to help. So double-sided tape helps tremendously. So I'm going to remove that backing of the double-sided tape and then just do that mark again for the center. At that 2-inch line, press down, and we're going to do a 3/8 of an inch box on the sides. See how it's coming together? It's really pretty. So I'm going to start on one side, back stitch well. Trying to move things around because it's a lot of pivoting. Okay, and we're going to do this on the other side. Our exterior is almost complete. You guys are doing a good job. Okay. And let's trim these threads. All right. So we're going to put this on the side real quick, and we're going to grab our lock for our tongue lock. I'm going to get some 1/4 of an inch double-sided tape onto this piece. This piece was in the cut chart, and we're going to fold it onto itself. And I actually jumped a step. So before open up the ends, I apologize for that. Sometimes I get excited that it's almost, we get to see the exterior. Like, that's always the most exciting piece for me. We're going to sew 3/8 of an inch. So I opened up the two bottom parts, the short ends, to do this. And then I'm going to fold this down on itself. Just grab another piece of double-sided tape real quick. And fold that onto itself. Okay, and then again, I'm going to grab my needle nose pliers around it and just press that bulk in. You don't have to do that. It's just something I noticed helps make it look a little bit smoother. And then I'm going to just smooth it out with a seam roller. Okay. And I'm going to grab another piece of double-sided tape. And just place this in the center. And I'm going to fold this onto itself. Now again, you can find your centers and then fold it. I did eyeball this one. This one's so little, that's why. All right, and then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to stitch 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Make sure you back stitch at the beginning and the end. Needle down when you're pivoting. The reason why I chose to do option A is I thought, again, anytime I can use less hardware, I can't. I don't know, I love it. And I just like the way it looks. It reminds me of a very classic bag. So we're going to now grab, we're on page 15, and we're going to grab the pattern piece front that has the 2 accent pieces, and we're going to do a little bit of measuring. We're going to go down 4 inches, and at the top of the hat, and we're going to go 4 inches down and a 1/2 inch away from the decorative strap. So I'm just going to make a little mark. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing here, 1/2 inch away. All right. I'm going to grab, again, a little bit of double-sided tape, but first I'm going to punch a hole about right in about that 1/4 of an inch in. And I'm going to punch a hole. And it can get a little difficult. If you have to roll, you got to roll. I'm going to squish this down and punch a hole. This will be easier if you have a drill one, or if you have a hammer and a rivet setter and a rivet hole punch. It's a little bit easier. 2 males and 2 females. And I'm going to set these real quick. And set this side right here. All right, so we have that, and this is looking really good because this is how, when we are putting this together, when this flap comes in, it goes over and under. So that looks so good, so classy looking. That's why I had to pick this flap, because I just like it. There is a flap B, and that's on the end of 15, and it goes over similar steps that we just did. And now we're going to start adding the base. Now, I unfortunately had no silver or nickel feet, so I'm not putting any purse bag feet in. But if you were going to put them in, the measurements of how you need to place them in on pattern piece K is on page 21. So we're going to hop on over to page 22, and we're going to put these together. Okay, and we're going to sew these together using a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Back stitch. All right, and then we're going to top stitch onto the base of the bag. But before you do that, just clip in a little, like a 1/4 of an inch or a 1/2 inch down, not all the way all the way to the threads, but not cutting into the threads. And do yourself a favor, when we backstitch, hold this one flap out of the way and backstitch all of this. It will help tremendously later on. So I'm just going to flip that one side down to fit all the others. Let's see. Hold on, this did not. Sorry about that. I didn't backstitch at the beginning like I told you to. Okay, so I'm going to flip this, all of it except this little flap. And we're gonna top stitch at 1/8 of an inch on the base. Do the same thing. I'm gonna just open up that little seam allowance that I had on the other side. And we have our base. Okay, we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to match up the centers. Take your time, and we're going to backstitch really well at the beginning and at the end, 3/8 of an inch. All right. And then again, I'm going to snip in about a half an inch down on both sides, so that way I can open up the seam where all the bulk is going to go towards the base of the bag, but I want to have one side where it's open because we're going to be doing some taping and gluing in the next step, and the more even you can have it, the better it will be. And my thread was shredding a little bit, which is surprising because this is a superior thread, and it's usually one of my favorite threads to work with because it doesn't shred. It could be because of the glue. Sometimes that glue buildup, it could be a doozy on a bag. That's needles. Wiping them down with alcohol is really a good thing to do when you're using a lot of glue base or double-sided tape. All right. All right. So once we have that, we're going to go on to page 23. And we are going to fold fold our pieces in to meet the stabilizer. This is why I had you have this part open, because it's a little bit easier to fold over the bulk. So I'm going to grab some double-sided tape, and what I like to do is when we have to fold, what I do is I start at the top, and I'll put the tape there at the top pieces first. And I'll remove that, and I'm going to show you how we're going to be doing the next steps, because this is the part that I really wanted to show, is because I think that some people might think the construction of the bag could be difficult, and it's not. It's actually really genius how Toby does this. She's brilliant. So we're going to remove that, and then I'm going to put right at the very top corners all the way down some double-sided tape on one side, and then I'm going to lift that little area that I told you to, so you can make it flat. All right, and let's just work with one side at a time. So I'm going to remove this tape and I'm going to start folding it in towards the stabilizer. Super sticky tape helps tremendously. Okay, and then I'm going to flip this over and work on this other side. And you're going to have to kind of get okay with getting squishy and movie with it because you have bulk in the front. You have a lock, you have just different pieces. All right. We're going to do the same thing. Going to, on the sides, and notice how I'm not folding over the top front yet, because we're going to need to do some maneuvering. All right. So I'm going to get my little needle nose pliers because I think they help tremendously in this part. I'm going to fold this, and I'm kind of making this into a peak. Folding this down over it, so. And just when I get to the corners, I'm trying to get it to line up nicely. And then what I do is I grab my needle nose pliers and I kind of just press gently, because you know some vinyls and corks tear easily. Once I have it where I know it's nice and pressed nice, I'm going to then cut down at an angle. Just at an angle. Okay, let's do it again on this side. See how that's not all the way there yet? So I'm going to be folding these over, and this is why you weight it, because this is a drop-in lining and you don't want to be fighting with huge amounts of bulk. This turns inside. And we're going to fold these until we get a nice little peak, and I'm going to press lightly just to get it to stick together. And what I did last time, because my my little legs kept popping up, so what I did is I put a little double-sided tape on them and pressed them down, because they'll pop up like that because the weight of the fabric compared to the rest of it doesn't have it. So just, it's not in the pattern, but something I noticed helped me out last time. Little snip, little snip. But we have the exterior part. Now we're going to be on page 24, and we're going to be doing our sides. So you're going to grab your side pieces, and that's piece I. And we're going to first sew the corners down using a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Back stitch really well. Okay, then we're going to get some double-sided tape and wrap it around here, because we're going to fold these over just like we did with the other one. So I put a piece of tape always at the top first. Then we're going to kind of, I like to go follow the raw edge. Then I open up the seam allowance where we just made the dart. All right. We're going to fold this onto itself to meet the Decorative light. Take your time. There's not a rush. You're not racing against anyone except yourself. Okay, and then right when I get to the top, I'm going to do the same technique as last time. Fold from the center and just kind of turn these into little peaks. Press with my little needle nose plier. And you want to not put tons of pressure. I know it's easy to do, but needle nose pliers are not meant for vinyl. They're meant for other projects throughout the house. So we're going to follow the same instructions. Kind of like Play-Doh. And I got these in the jewelry section of Joann's. That's why they're purple. But you can get them significantly cheaper at other locations. Like at like a hardware store like Lowe's or Home Depot. So we're going to now assemble our pattern pieces together. So we're going to take one side to one of the exteriors. To our exterior piece. So we're going to grab a side and I'm going to put a clip at the top of each one. And then I'm going to start clipping the folds together. I love the way she did this because it looks so nice and clean. I have like every kind of clip underneath the sun in here. Take your time, match your marks, your center marks. All right, so I'm going to push this to the side and I'm going to stitch this down using 1/8 of an inch. You can just move your flap out of the way. And this is why we have Decorative lights on the sides, because it makes it a little bit more pliable. Back stitch well. Take your time. If it helps, use a stiletto. Sometimes that helps me when I'm sewing. It can go places that I don't want my finger to go. right, one side down. All right. This is looking nice. We're doing a good job, guys. Clip it. Clip it real good. Just showed my age a little bit. My mom liked that song a lot when I was a kid, and I used to sing it all the time. It was super fun to sing. And just molding and clipping. And I put a lot of clips because I don't like anything to shift. You could put fewer clips if that you feel comfortable with that. Go for it. And here we go. I told you we were almost done with the exterior. Then we got to put some pockets in, slip pockets in, and then we're almost done. It comes together really fun. Different techniques. But if you sewed TobiStylx bags before, then this technique's not a surprise. It's one of her favorites that she uses in bag making. And it's slowly becoming one of mine. At first I was reluctant because needles, double-sided tape. But the more I do it, I love the end result. And I love learning new techniques. Trying to move my flap out of the way. Okay. Let's see. Nice. This is nice. What? Oh, you're a cutie. You're definitely a little cutie. All right, so we're going to start working on the interior. We're going to grab one of our lining pieces in, and we're going to grab piece, let's see, I have to find that one piece. The overlay is piece M. So we have N and M. We're going to grab some double-sided tape. Use some of these clips. Find our center. And we're going to measure 2 inches down. And line that up. We're going to base this, not base, top stitch at 1/8 of an inch all the way around. back stitch at the beginning and the end. And you can leave long tails and pull threads to the back if you wish. But if you have thread that is like matching your interior and your exterior, then I don't think it's really noticeable. At least I never had anyone go into my bag and be like, you didn't pull the threads to the back. That would be interesting. Kind of. I'm gonna open that up. Make sure you don't cut the overlay. Okay, we're gonna grab our zipper and 2 zipper pocket pieces. Okay. I'm going to put this, base this on using 1/8 of an inch. And what I like to do is once I do this, I like to kind of have like everything's facing pretty. I'll flip this and fold this down and top stitch here. You'll see when I'm done, it kind of just lays flatter. So when I'm installing pockets, a zipper pocket, it looks cleaner to me. Do the same thing. Having the right side of the zipper tape on the right side of the zipper pocket. Opening this up so I can see both wrong sides of the pocket, but right sides of the zipper. And then I'm going to top stitch the zipper down using a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. See, it's like nice and flat. So when I top stitch, it'll be a little bit easier for me to maneuver. Okay, then I'm going to grab a zipper pull. And again, grab some double-sided tape. You're like, Shnova, I need stock and double-sided tape after you. And you're absolutely 110% correct. Let's see. Let's see, pull this tape. We're going to line this up. I like to line up the center first, and then I just kind of finger press down. And because this is open, I'm going to start in one end and go all the way around, and I won't close up my pocket, and it just is easier to sew. I am going to back stitch. You can pull the threads to the back if you wish. I like to back stitch over the teeth because I feel like that's the area that has the most friction and needs that extra support. And if I do it on both sides, it looks even, not just at the beginning and end. Oops, almost got my zipper. All right. Then we're going to pull this nice and taut down, and then we're going to trim the bottom pocket to match the top. Then we're going to close off this pocket. We're going to sew it all the way around because this is a drop-in lining. So back stitch at the beginning and the end. Okay, and we're going to trim those threads. And while we have this side right here, we're going to draw a 1-inch line. All right. Let's grab our other pocket piece and our 2 slip pocket pieces. Okay. Now we're going to follow along what's on page 29. We're going to make a slip pocket. We're going to measure 1 inch down on one of them, on one of the zipper pocket pieces. We'll slip pocket piece now. And then we're going to go a 1/2 inch down from there. And then we're going to go 1 inch from the short sides. All right, we're going to find our center. And we are going to measure 1 inch down from the top. I'm going to grab, this is waterproof canvas. I'm just going to put a pin in the pocket portion that we're going to be cutting out. First, we're going to stitch this box in. I do prefer shorter stitch length when I'm doing the boxes because it's just easier and comes out cleaner to me. And we're going to cut this. And I like to just finger press first. Kind of letting the fabric know where it's going. It's the same thing as like a zipper pocket, except no zipper, and it's a nice, cute little hidden slip pocket. And then we're going to top stitch this at 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Okay, and then we're going to put this pocket on top, and we're going to sew all the way around. Back stitch at the beginning and end. All right, we got a cute little slip pocket now. All right, so now we're going to start assembling the bag. We're going to take this, and we're going to measure 1 inch down from this side too. Yeah, fold this out of the way to draw your line as you wish. All right, and then we're going to take our pieces and we're going to start assembling them. All right, so we're going to sew at 1/4 of an inch. Be cognizant of that. I said 1/4 of an inch, not 3/8. We're changing it up. Remember, these lining pieces were made to fit perfectly, nice and snug inside our exterior. Just going to feed the bottom. Still back stitching at the beginning of the end. I think I ran out of bobbin thread. Nope. No, just my top stitch. My top thread is not being cooperative today. It's okay. All right. Let's go back where the thread broke off and back stitch. Back stitch again. All right, we're going to trim these threads so they're not in our way, and we're going to box our corners. And I'm having one seam go to the left and the other seam go to the right. And again, this thread is not the business today. It keeps like, it could be the glue. Grab an alcohol wipe I keep telling you guys to get and have yet to do. You can get them on Amazon, Walmart, anywhere. Anywhere you have to get some Band-Aids, you should have. You should see them. Whew, that's strong. Trim those threads. And we're going to box these corners right here too. One seam to the left, one seam to the right. And I'm going to, I always like to change my bobbin right at this part, even if it's there's a little bit left, because I do not like to play bobbin games when it comes down to top stitching, and we're about to be in top stitching and there's like hardly no thread on here. So I'm going to get a fresh bobbin. so I know when I top stitch, there's no, oh no. Yeah, I don't want to play bobbin games. Not with a drop-in lining. All right. So we're going to grab some double-sided tape and we're going to put it all around that 1 inch, above that 1 inch line. And I'm just going to open up my seam allowances and just follow that line all the way around. All right. And then I'm going to open the tape, get the tape out, and I'm going to fold it to the 1 inch line. All right, and it's all nice and neat. So we're going to grab our exterior. And quickly sew this part down because I guess I did not catch it. It happens. It's good to catch it now versus you're putting the bag together and then you want to cry. All right. Everything else is caught. All right. We're going to put the zipper pocket towards the back. And kind of start clipping. It kind of sits really nicely. Now, if you have a free arm on your domestic, this is the time it shines. Open up that free arm and let it do it. If you don't, then you're going to follow like I'm going right now. I'm going to be sewing from the inside out. This is why your tension on your bobbin thread is really important. That's why I always do like a sandwich of the materials that I'm sewing. So that way I can make sure that the bobbin and the top threads are nice and even. It's a nice tight fit. All right. I like to start from a corner. And I'm going to get squishy on my bag because it's not going to be squishy for very long. I like to go from the back because I feel like that area is a little bit more difficult to sew because of the flap there. So I don't know why. I like to start from the harder part and then work to the easier side. I guess maybe it's like kind of more relaxing to me. pamphlets are going to be flinging everywhere. And you might need a hump jumper going over where the little accent pieces are. Just take your time. There's no race. Depending on what kind of fabric you use, it might be a looser or a tighter fit. I'm using water-resistant canvas, so there's no give on that. We all know that one. So take your time. And like I said, use a stiletto if it helps. All right. Ooh. So let's get this shape back into it. Trim those threads. And we're going to poke in the sides. And we, my friends, have a fabulous bag. Let me get these threads out of the way. I love this tongue one. Like, I give it a shot. The magnet one, I have seen many people do it in our group, and it looks amazing. But the accent pieces, it looks good with or without purse feet. The nice smooth, center smooth. And like what I did for this bag and for the last bag I made with this, I used a metal zipper, not a metal chain, because it just gave it a more elegant kind of Burberry feel. But you can make a regular strap. You can do a 1-inch strap, a 1/2-inch strap. You can make your strap. But either way you go about this bag is too cute. I love the way it comes together. I love the inside. I love the details. It's one of my favorite bags I've made. It just feels very fetch. Oh my God. If I made this in all pink. Very Burberry. So if you have any questions in reference to this pattern, please leave a comment down below. If you like the way I did the tutorial, leave a comment, subscribe, and share if it's worthy. I really appreciate all of you. And until the next time we see each other, happy sewing.